Hello and welcome to Microsoft in Times Square. I appreciate you all coming out. We're going to talk about exceptional growth through an exceptional user experience. I hope to not only educate you tonight, but also to entertain you. And my name is Peter Kozodoy. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of GEM Advertising, which is a full-service communications and marketing agency. I'm also an author of an upcoming book on millennial marketing called Inside Out. We're going to talk a little bit about Inside Out and what that means for the user experience. I've also spoken for, among others, the US Department of Commerce on global advertising, as GEM is a global business. So we're going to talk a little bit about me and then a lot about UX and what that means. But first, I'd like to show you guys a video of what we're all about at GEM. At GEM, if you might have guessed, we're all about the experience. In fact, we've put communications into a model that we like to call the growth experience model. And it's based on the insight that in a very transparent economy in which we live, where people have near perfect information or the capability to achieve it, that authentic brand experiences make for the most impactful communication strategies. And in turn, those communication strategies can produce aggressive growth for clients. And we're going to talk about how that plays into internet development and what you're all doing. And we do that from 9 creative departments for companies in over 30 industries, from offices in 3 states and 2 countries. It's all about an integrated approach. And our family involves enterprise to mid-sized brands from here and around the world. So let's talk about growing your business through exceptional user experience in your organization's intranet. And we're going to start with a couple of key questions. And I hope to challenge some of the assumptions that you've made about who the end user of an intranet really is and what is the experience that people should be having, aside from just the technology. And then we're going to talk about the intranet itself and answer a couple of basic questions, but in hopefully a new way. How do you know it's right for you? How do you get your people to use the intranet? And how do you get your intranet and that technology to improve your people, your process, and your product? So let's start with some of the fundamentals and talk about the user experience with a capital T. Because I would argue that although most technologists think that the end user of an intranet is the employee, I beg to differ. I think the end user of an intranet is the customer, and I'm going to prove it to you over the course of our time together. In addition, when you come to what is the experience, again, there's been a barrier between the internal employee's experience and the external customer's experience. And what I'm going to show today is that although that used to be a brick wall, today it's more like glass. And there's a lot of transparency that flows between the two for the companies that grow best. And finally, why does the user experience matter so much? It's what we've predicated our agency on. And it's for a simple fact that we're beyond marketing to people. It's all about what is memorable to us, and we remember feelings. And those feelings come from experiences. And we can, as companies, engineer those experiences in ways that perhaps we haven't thought of, both internally and by extension, externally. So with that frame of reference in mind, let's see what that means out in the real world. The fact that internal communications can be external communications. And what does that mean? Well, the reason why this matters principally is because we have to start thinking about our employees who are using our intranets as our first customers. Your employees need to be the first people to buy into your product and buy into your service and believe your brand. Because when they believe your brand, they're going to give your customers experiences that they will remember and that they will buy and that they will believe. It starts here at the customer level, which is why what you do as internal technology providers is critically important. And we're going to see how that plays out. And to do that, I'm going to tell you a story about a lion and a crown, which is the symbol of the venerable Ritz Carlton luxury hotel chain. Last Friday, true story, I had lunch with the corporate director of culture transformation at the Ritz Carlton Leadership Center. Cool title, right? And so we had lunch, and he told me about a process that his internal staff members use. And by that I mean every employee across the entire 90 properties uses a system. And every employee, to provide legendary customer experiences and legendary customer service, carries around 2 items: a pad and a pen. And they call this pad a preference pad. And so if I have an interaction as a Ritz Carlton employee with you, the customer, and I learn that you love lemonade. Do you love lemonade? What do you love? You love beer. This guy loves Stella. And so after I finish having a conversation with you, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write down your name, write down the name of the property, the date, and your name, and your preference. And I'm going to drop that into a bucket somewhere on the property. Later that night, someone from the Ritz Carlton is going to come around and collect all those preferences. And they're going to go to their intranet, to their internal technology database, and they're going to put those preferences in. So that the next time you leave here in the Ritz Carlton, New York, you go to San Francisco to the Ritz Carlton, guess what's there waiting for you? Your Stella. Pretty cool, right? Wrong. This is not cool at all. We have a barrier here to the customer experience. And what is it? It's this. We've taken a beautiful digital process that has incredible implications for the customer experience, and we've interrupted it with an analog process. Why? Imagine if we redid that internal technology to involve this. Now, when I leave our conversation, I'm going to open up my intranet Ritz Carlton app as an employee. I know who's staying here tonight. I can scroll down to your face, click it, click preferences, click beverages, click Stella. And now, before you reach the elevator, everyone on the property knows your preference. And now you don't have to wait until your next day. The next morning, maybe you don't drink beer in the morning. The next evening, what do you have? You have your beer. You have your preference. That's the magic of what an intranet can do. That is how we take internal technology processes and make exceptional end user experiences out of the technology. And let's take this one step further now, because we've gone from one to one. If the Ritz Carlton developed a technology like this, imagine if they then used it for this. And they told the world about what they had done in the tech space, in their internal tech process. A couple things would occur. One, the publicity would be phenomenal. You have a message that's authentic and it talks about the real customer experience and how you impact real people. Not only that, but you would have an incredible first mover advantage because it would take months, if not years, for the nearest competitor to develop this. And even if they did, they would never be able to say that they came to market first. That's the power of looking at your internal tech processes all the way through and engineering for the end user experience. If you don't believe me, let's talk about something else. Sorry, I think that slipped in because I might have been hungry when I was making it. That's better. Let's talk about Domino's. Okay? This was a company that in 2008, 2009 was struggling, and it had little to do with the economy, and it had everything to do with the quality of their pizza. And people were taking to social media and writing emails and saying, guys, the pizza, it ain't that good. So luckily, Patrick Doyle, CEO, had a vision for this, and he wanted to be transparent and authentic about the way they communicated their internal problems. This is good. He said, look at this isn't very good. We need to do better than this. And he came out and he said that to the world. And this is what occurred over the past couple years. I don't think anyone can argue with those results. If there's anybody in the room who bought down here at that low, congratulations. I don't know why you're not on a yacht in Tahiti by now. And if anyone has trouble figuring out what that line is, that is the start of this campaign. And now you're wondering, so what? Why are you talking about this external marketing thing? Like, we get it. What does that have to do with intranets? Well, an interesting thing happened in this evolution. You see, Domino's became a technology company that happens to sell pizza. And not only did they develop an application for ordering, but they developed a technology ecosystem that eventually became the Domino's tracker that allows you to track your pizza through the entire process all the way to your door. Cool, right? And really, if you think about what it took to build that tracker and build this application that was customer-facing for the end-user experience, it took a heck of a lot of in-store tech. I want to read you a passage from an article about this trend for Domino's. The company emphasizes transparency, love that word, especially in its metrics. So inside the store, a screen detailing statistics like average amount spent per order, rank against other stores in load time, and weekly new customer count are displayed for all the employees to see. So you have a technology system that's circulating data that's helping employees make decisions. And by the way, a lot of this data is being generated by the employees themselves. That's how the tracker works. That's how you get to pick up your phone and see that your pizza's rounding the corner in 3 minutes. Sounds like an intranet to me. But an intranet that had very real connotations for the extension of this company's growth for the end user. So with that backdrop in mind, and that we've seen the power of what you all hold in your hands with an internal technology, let's address our questions again. How do you know an intranet is right for you? How do you get your people to use it? And let's ask the even higher question, how do you get an intranet to improve your people, process, and product and grow the business that you're working with or that you're working for? Let's start at the first one. How do you know it's right? When it comes to information technology and the amount of information and the type of information that needs to be delivered to employees, most executives ask, what needs to be communicated? And I would argue that that's only one piece of the question. The primary question should be, why do they need to know? What business intelligence does each employee gain with every bit of information? And how do employees use the information at hand to impact the customer experience? Why and how? And by starting there, you have a much better basis for building a product with broader implications. And so the premise behind this is that communication now comes from the bottom up. And we're going to talk about what that means on the next slide. But it's important to keep in mind that we are exiting the phase where one technologist or one executive or even a team of executives can make critical decisions about the information sharing of their organizations from the top. It needs to come from the bottom. And so we can and should crowdsource your intranet needs. Now, how does that play out in the real world? Well, let's talk a little bit about this some more. Right? In the old flow of information, you had executives making decisions, pushing them down through employees, and down to the customers, and eventually, in a marketing message, to your potential customers. This model has changed. We're in a world where we have near perfect, or what we think is perfect information to make purchasing decisions, and the new flow of information needs to come from the customers to your employees who interface with those customers. Your employees, they know. They know what information they need to do their jobs better because they're the ones on the front line. They're the ones listening to customer feedback all the time. And if we establish an intranet to feed information from the bottom to the top, a lot of really great things are going to happen. And this gets to the, how do you get people to use this? Well, a lot of studies have been done, Deloitte's just one, that show that when people help create a system and have participation in that, they own it. Deloitte found that when employees help to create their own goals, they will have most likely develop strategies to achieve them. It's in their mind, it's internalized. And so all of that makes goal attainment more likely. And this is bordering, of course, on employee engagement. And how do we get employees engaged in their own roles in the company? And how do we make them feel empowered to pass information up to people who need to make critical decisions? So this does a lot of great things simultaneously, because we have to remember, this isn't about the technology. This is about people. An intranet's a facilitation device for greater human communication and greater human engagement. And the key there is engagement, because we don't just want employees with the most basic information to do a good job. We want them engaged enough to raise their hand, to volunteer, to make each process better, to make each system better, and ultimately to make the entire company better. And again, because these employees that use your intranet technology are on the front lines, it's absolutely critical that they own it in some way. When we think about intranets, a lot of technologists think of it as additive. What information do I need to add? And we're here to suggest that actually the best intranet removes roadblocks. Take a diamond, for instance. Light shines in from the top, bounces around, exits back on the top, right? And the brilliance has to do with what? How few blemishes there are. And it's much the same way in corporate communications these days. Information is coming from your customers. They're all too happy to volunteer what they think of you. Just go to any corporation's Facebook page, you'll find it. And so we need to have mechanisms for information to flow from the customers to the employees, to the managers, and to the executives. And then, so what is the role of an executive or a technologist, right? A CTO or a CIO? It's to take in all that information and to reflect back what it is that the customers need. Not what they think, what they need. And so if you remove roadblocks, this cycle functions well. Why? Because your employees know what to do. Again, I can't stress it enough. They're interfacing with your customers. Their ideas in their head will grow your business. So an intranet needs to be a facilitation device for turning that wheel and making sure feedback is iterative, making sure it's listened to, making sure it turns into products and services that better impact real customer experiences. So if you think about this big question again, how do you get your intranet to improve your people, process, and product? Hopefully, we're already there, right? If we can fundamentally design an information-driven technology that is driven by your people, they will in turn tell you how to better your process. If, on the C-suite level, their thoughts and ideas are being listened to. And by the way, you're going to have more engaged people who feel like they're a part of change and a part of improvement and a part of growth. And those ideas will come up and they will absolutely influence and change your product and service mix. And it all starts with thinking about what is the experience for every user involved. Not just the employee, but the customer. If you take some things away from today, it should be that user experience matters, and it matters more than ever. The experience you give to your employees, and by extension your customers, is the best unique selling proposition you could possibly develop, because it's real and it's authentic, and by the way, no one else can own it but you. If you design brilliant user experiences, you will grow your business. Companies that are taking advantage of this trend are growing. And a lot of this process is very much inside out, talking about transparency here. The best growing companies, Domino's, Ritz Carlton, they abide by this, that their internal process is their external brand. It's all the same. The internal and the external doesn't exist anymore in the best companies. The brick wall is now glass. It's transparent. And I want to leave you with a vision for the future of what an intranet will become. And the future for an employee is that an intranet becomes their personal ecosystem right here. Their connectivity to the brand in their pockets. And what does that look like? That looks like not only an intranet focused on communication and freeing roadblocks, but also a feedback mechanism from customer service, all the way through to the C-suite. It's an auto-reporting function that we can write algorithms to take all of that feedback and pare it down and serve it in a way that presents actionable business insights. It's a social tool. Talk about employee engagement, and we can engineer a system that lives in each person's pocket. This is an employee engagement tool on the fly. Who's up for impromptu bowling tonight? And not only is it an engagement tool, but critically, an intranet is going to become highly personalized. We've gone there a little bit to the extent that I might be able to log in and get wished a happy birthday. But there's more we can do. Because I would suggest to you that the reason why the mobile world is so enticing is not because I can access the internet from this. It's because this is my personal gateway to the internet. And the apps I've put on here and the way it's set it up is mine. And I feel attached to it. And that's where the intranet can go. And in that way, it can become a lifestyle. Because these employees, they're part of your organization. They eat, sleep, and breathe their jobs, the good ones anyway. And so if we can empower them to live the lifestyle of the brand through this, then all the other things will follow. Now we have a workforce who perhaps doesn't wait until they get back to their desk to think of a great way the company should be evolving. They can do it at 11 o'clock at night on their own time. Lastly, I can't stress enough that you all, as technologists, advance slides too quickly, you have incredible power. In many ways, I think of what you are all doing, or CTOs or CIOs, as the future providers of business growth in authentic ways that no one else in the organization can do, because you are the designers and architects of what the experience can be. And you can live in both worlds, both the internal and the external. You have a ton of power. And I personally am looking forward to seeing you all evolve what an intranet can be. I really appreciate you all coming out, taking the time, coming to Microsoft in Times Square. So thank you very much.